Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? All right, Wednesday, middle of the week, is when NFL teams have to issue their first injury report of the week. Now, this was just a massive storyline a week ago because of the injuries to very notable players, because the Saints, of course, were eyeing Alvin Kamara's injury and had re-signed Latavius Murray. And
Murray, present.
There we go. And so we were watching the injury report throughout the week. And then obviously with Tampa as well, it was so significant because they had a lengthy injury report with key players, receivers, their left tackle, etc. The injury report for the Saints today is better. Nobody missed practice, which is good. Paulson Adebo practiced for the first time in a few weeks. He was limited, but practiced. Alvin Kamara practiced. He, of course, missed the game on Sunday with a rib injury, limited, but he practiced. Jameis Winston was limited, and apparently this is how they handled him a week ago, where he was limited. He did what he could throughout the week, and then they got him ready to play on Sunday. A couple of new names that have popped up. Ryan Ramczyk with an elbow injury was limited today. Taysom Hill limited with the rib injury. Deontay Hardy limited with a foot. Marcus May limited with a rib injury as well. Adam Prentice is on the list, as is Tre'Quan Smith, who remains limited due to that shoulder injury. So I think all things considered, good news. The fact that Alvin Kamara and Jameis Winston were both in pads today practicing, albeit on a limited basis, is a good sign that they are preparing to play. The real concern becomes if you practice, or if you DNP, or if you practice Wednesday and then Thursday you don't. You have a set, which means when you tried to give it a go on Wednesday, you had a setback. So we'll check that out tomorrow. But as of right now, good news for the Saints as they get ready to take on Carolina. And of course, the three players we'll be watching most closely: Paulson Adebo, Alvin Kamara, and of course Jameis Winston. Adebo is yet to play through 2 games this season because of the ankle. It would be wonderful to get him back, and you'd have your secondary a full go, especially against a Carolina Panther team that has struggled offensively and certainly struggled to finish games, even with Christian McCaffrey back. Alvin Kamara just makes the Saints offense more dynamic. We know that. We've known that not only as a runner, but as a receiver. So hopefully this is getting Kamara on track to play on Sunday. And then Jameis is really the big one, because for all the reasons we've talked about, you're talking about a guy with fractures in his back. I cannot imagine how he's playing with fractures in his back. But if they're going to give it a go again this week with Jameis, it's got to be a thing where you see him performing at a level requisite with what you'd expect. I saw Kat Terrell tweeted from a stat from ESPN Stats and Info about Jameis. And this was, I think, probably the biggest concern for Jameis right now. Jameis, and this again from ESPN Stats and Info, and Kat Terrell tweeted it. She's on Twitter at @Kat_Terrell if you want to go follow her. Jameis was 2 of 11 on passes that went 15 yards or more in the air. And you might say, well, deep balls, maybe pressure. But he was pressured on only 1 of those attempts. So I'll say it another way. The Saints attempted 11 passes. Jameis attempted 11 passes that traveled in the air beyond 15 yards. They completed only 2 of them, 2 of 11. But he was only pressured on 1 of those throws. That's just not who Jameis has been. And that's my concern. You can tell, I'm being very sincere. That's my concern with him. And I've expressed this enough, but we know we saw Jameis in camp. We saw him in preseason. We saw him in week 1. His rapport with his receivers is good, but he's playing with a broken back. That has got to affect your ability to throw the football. And this is sort of evidence of that, the ability to function within the offense. So I'd hate to see the Saints go out there in Carolina and miss out on an opportunity to get a game that's certainly gettable. You're a 3-point road favorite. You got a quarterback with a broken back, and you're a 3-point road favorite over Carolina. Division game, all that stuff. You know, you got to get this one, and I'd hate to think that you're mortgaging the opportunity to win this game to run out a quarterback who just isn't ready to play. But we'll find that out, I guess, as we get closer to the weekend. Now, as for Carolina, just 2 players on the injury report, and they're both familiar names. One is Dante Jackson. He's limited with a hamstring injury. And then Christian McCaffrey just got a rest day, so that's why he didn't participate. But that's it. Other than that, Carolina's a very healthy team. Jackson is certainly pivotal this week. When you look at the Saints and all the receivers they have, Dante Jackson, they need Dante Jackson to be out there on the field. Here was Matt Rule on Wednesday giving an update on former Tiger Dante Jackson.
We had him just do some light Indy today, so we probably won't know until later in the week. It might end up being a game time type decision. So, we'll have to just kind of wait and play it out by ear. Okay, so if Jackson doesn't go, here's what Matt Rule said the contingency would be. Yeah, we would start CJ and JC, and we've been playing Miles at the nickel, so those guys would go, and Keith would just bump up, and Stan would be ready to go. So we would just have those guys. CJ would get a start. The thing about Carolina, though, is their issue doesn't appear so far, overwhelmingly anyway, to be defensive. They went and lost to the Giants on the road 19-16. I mean, you allowed 19 points in a road game and you lost. That's your offense. They lost to Cleveland 26-24. Of course, we know how that one ended with the Cade York walk-off in week 1. So really the question is, how does Carolina improve offensively? And that's one of the things Matt Rule was asked today. I think I've said it after the last 2 games. The real factor to me is third down, winning third downs. And then, again, when you're in the red zone 4 times, you have to come away with touchdowns. You can't take a sack on a screen. You can't have a negative run. You can't have those things. You can't have a penalty on 2nd and 4. So I think if you score some touchdowns instead of field goals, that changes things as well. The first scoring drive for us, I think, was a 16-play drive, resulted in a field goal. So we've shown we can sustain it. To me, it's just kind of getting out of our own way a little bit. And again, that just comes down to me, just everybody executing at a high level. It's been the inability to finish drives, but that's actually been something the Saints defensively have been good at. I mean, you saw that against Tampa time and again, where Tampa went forward on a 4th and short. The Saints forced a turnover. The Saints have been very good defensively in those situations where even when you're allowing a sustained drive, you slam the door and limit to 3 or a 3-point attempt. So that'll certainly be a key this week if you want to look at it. You heard Matt Rule say it out there. It's third downs and then it's red zone. It's getting touchdowns instead of field goals for Carolina. That's been their bugaboo so far, is finishing drives, and that's going to be the charge for the Saints defense, is making sure that they hold Carolina to field goal attempts and keep them out of the end zone. And of course, you really want to see the offense get going. But I'll reiterate it. I am nervous about how effective Jameis Winston can be because of this injury. And it looks like it could be something that plagues them throughout. It's not, and again, we learned of injuries that Drew Brees sustained and played through during his career. In 2010, the year after the Super Bowl, late in that season, it was very clear Drew Brees was struggling. Only later did we learn about the oblique injury that he had. Another point in his career, we learned he was dealing with like a partially torn MCL. And we only learned those after the season. It became very clear why he was limited, but you still felt that an 80% Drew Brees, a limited Drew Brees, was better than whatever option you had on the bench. If it was McCown or back when if it was Chase Daniel or Mark Brunell. I mean, Drew Brees was a better option. Andy Dalton started more than 100 games in his NFL career. I'm not calling to bench Jameis Winston because of performance. I'm just saying if you have a healthy Andy Dalton who's been a proven starter in this league or a limited Jameis Winston, that is a much more complex decision than, hey, just get Drew Brees ready to go. And I think that's where Dennis Allen and his staff have got to be right now, is understanding what a limited Jameis gives you relative to what a healthy Andy Dalton could potentially do.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.